The hottest football game ever played was the opener in the year 2000 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. 43 degrees Celsius on the field. That is a hot day, broiling hot. Well, within minutes of the kickoff, some of the Dallas Cowboys players were staggering off the field with cramps. But the Eagles, no. And some of the credit for that went to what they called pickle juice. Turned out that the trainer of Philadelphia Eagles had told the players to drink some pickle juice before the game and that this would prevent cramps. Interesting story. Well, at that time, Kevin Miller was a young undergraduate student who got interested in this story, and it became his life's passion. He got a PhD, basically researching pickle juice, and has forged a career publishing all kinds of papers about the effect of pickle juice. Well, first, let's get one thing straight. The term pickle juice is a misnomer. You don't take pickles and squeeze them to make juice like you would with oranges. What is being referred to is the brine that the pickles sit in. What is that? Well, it's mostly salt with some lactic acid and some lactobacillus bacteria. Anyway, the process of pickling is age-old. It's a preservative process, and you just immerse the cucumbers in a salty solution, and the salt prevents the spoilage microbes from multiplying, but it allows the lactobacillus to multiply. Those produce lactic acid, which is the preservative. But the question is, does it really prevent cramps? Well, Kevin Miller investigated this. Said he became the world's leading expert on pickle juice. It isn't exactly Nobel Prize material, but it's pretty interesting because athletes, of course, suffer from cramps. We've often seen in basketball players writhing on the floor with a cramp. Can you do anything about it? Well, Miller investigated this. He devised a process whereby he could electrically trigger a cramp in the big toe. Well, it turned out that dehydration, which was always thought to be the cause of cramps, actually isn't. He did the experiment. He had people on a bicycle, they became dehydrated, and he tested them and measured the time it took for a cramp to resolve, and whether they were dehydrated or not made no difference. And then he investigated the pickle juice, that is the brine from pickles. And it turned out that if an athlete, after exhaustion on a bicycle, was primed for a cramp, and he induced a cramp with his electrical device, and they started to consume pickle juice at that moment, it turned out that the cramp didn't last as long. So there is something to this. He also showed, though, that drinking pickle juice has nothing to do with endurance, so it doesn't make for better performance, but it may help somewhat in resolving a cramp. Interesting story, and just goes to show you that, you can be an undergraduate, you see something, and it changes your life perspective and launches you on a career. Just one final point here. There was a story actually published in the Montreal Gazette about Brendan Gallagher supposedly using pickle juice in order to boost performance. It turns out that isn't the case, as Gallagher made clear in a subsequent interview. What they were really using was a German product that had camphor in it. They were rubbing this on their leg just prior to a game, and they just called it pickle juice, maybe reminiscent of the football story. So now you have the truth about pickle juice and the non-pickle juice that was used by some members of the Canadians to kind of give a little tingle to their leg. Didn't seem to help the performance.